make it 3.
Going for the St. Louis now.
Oh, no.
Son of a bitch.
You get your 2?
Yeah.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thotgor here, of course. Today we're going to take a look at a battle I had in my Admiral Hipper. You might recall from yesterday's rune video I talked about the Admiral Hipper and how great of a cruiser she is, especially with the new upcoming changes that are going to happen here in the new patch. For better or for worse, you know, the Megami might not be the best competitive cruiser. Now, what cruiser is going to take its place? I think it might be the Admiral Hipper. This ship right here that we're looking at, yes, for a number of reasons. This Tier 8 cruiser is really something else. I really do enjoy her. You know, she does have the 203, so that's great. She hits like a truck. When those shells land and actually, you know, RNG is with you, they do a bunch of damage. So I'm really happy with this Admiral Hipper. So that's why as well I suggested maybe you guys, if you don't have one, might want to take a look at getting one, right? Very fun ship to play here. Anyway. I don't know if you guys can hear the music in the background. I hope you can, just because it's so awesome. But anyway, we're on hotspot today. You can see that each team has its own base, right? So we're not actually going to move into these islands here where the sea cap would normally be. I don't want to go into there just yet, right? I want to size up the enemy, see where they are, and as well I do want to provide some sort of support to my destroyers, right? We can see we have 2 destroyers here in front of me basically, and it kind of looks like they're heading off to the middle. So that's okay, that's cool. You know, I might go to the middle as well, but I do notice as well that there are some ally ships that I have that are heading down the east side, right? The east side of the map, on the other side of that little group of islands where sea would normally be, they're heading down that east side. So there's an option as well that I could go for, because I don't like actually going into the middle on hotspot. It's very open. It just doesn't seem like a great idea for like a cruiser or a battleship to go in there basically right at the beginning, right? Obviously as the battle progresses, oh yeah, definitely. I mean, time and place for everything, right? Just at the beginning I'm very leery of it because of enemy battleships in the background, right? Like we did see the Nagato pop in and out. There he's back. There's a Tirpitz, right? So I wouldn't have seen these guys right away, and then maybe I might have taken a shot off at an enemy ship, and then I'm spotted, and then these battleships suddenly start shooting at me, right? So yeah, I just don't like going into the middle in the beginning like this in a cruiser or battleship. If I'm in a destroyer, different story, right? Because you can stay hidden in the middle fairly easily. Anyway, I do decide to come over here to the east and start helping some of my allies push down this east side. This is the quickest way to the enemy base, obvious, but it is. So if we can kind of push through here, this might be, you know, a fast, quick battle here, and we might actually cap the base and get the victory. So that wouldn't be too bad at all. We do see some enemy destroyers in the little islands, in and amongst these little islands here as well. There's one, so yeah, okay. But it looks like, you know, he's going to be running into some of my destroyers, and hopefully those guys will duke it out, and my destroyer will come out on top. That's the hope anyway, right? So I'm not too concerned about this destroyer, right? Obviously if I can get some shots off at him, I'm going to take them. But if not, that's fine as well. Take a look up front. So we have a number of enemy ships here in front of us, right? I mean, there's a Tirpitz out there, there's cruisers out there. It can be a little hectic here, so we don't want to just charge in. We're going to turn, and I'm going to angle my ship away from the enemies while still being able to put shots into them. One of the strengths of the Admiral Hipper here as well is its ability to do this, to sort of angle away from the enemy ships while still getting most of your guns, if not all of your guns, firing at the enemies, right? So it's a good ship. I enjoy her. You can see I'm taking shots off at a Cleveland in the distance. I figured that he would be really easy to take down, right? You can see armor piercing is loaded. He's basically broadside to me. It's just a matter of me getting my range in on this guy to actually be able to hit him, and then we'll be able to take him down. Now, we talked about the Tirpitz. I mean, there's an Nagato. We saw the Cleveland. I think in the background there that is a Miyoko, and we also saw a Nuremberg back there as well, yes. So there's a number of enemy ships to deal with over here. The biggest threat, obviously, the Tirpitz and the Nagato. Now, the Nagato isn't pressing the actual push here. He's just sort of in the back, right, keeping an eye on the base, whereas the Tirpitz is really pushing up here in this push. Now, I do have other ally ships around me, and for the most part, my allies are engaging the Tirpitz. I have been trying to go after this Cleveland, because the Cleveland is burning down my allies right now, so I really want to get the Cleveland gone, but I'm really sucking at actually aiming and being able to hit this guy. It wasn't going too great for me. I was rocking a little to the music, right? So not 100% focused on what was actually taking place at all times. But anyway, you can see as well now that I am taking defensive maneuvers here, right? I'm basically sailing away from the enemies at this point in time, presenting as small a target as possible to the Tirpitz, or at least if the Tirpitz were to look at me, I could easily turn and present as small a target as possible. But now the enemy cruisers are kind of out of my range. I don't have any good shots of them, so okay, alright, we're going to switch over to the Tirpitz here, start helping out my team, taking this guy down at the very least by shooting at the Cleveland. At least the Cleveland isn't really in play at this point in time, you know, shooting at my allies and burning them down. Instead, we're all over here shooting up the Tirpitz, right? If we can just keep this guy on fire, he will burn down. He's basically at half health, but we can get him burnt down and gone. And then we can start focusing on some of those cruisers. There still is the Nagato, like we mentioned a while ago, but you can see him actually popped up there on the mini-map. He's way back there, right? So he's not necessarily an immediate threat. Obviously, we do have to keep him in mind because we're most likely within his range, so he'd be able to fire in shells on us. So as long as we're able to keep that in mind, we should be okay. More shots into the Tirpitz. Obviously, we're shooting high explosive at the Tirpitz, right? We mentioned it, burning him down. That's the plan. There we go. There's a nice fire. So hopefully we can keep that fire going and just get him gone altogether. In the meantime, on the west side, you notice my allies didn't really have a whole lot to do over there on the west, right? That's what you would think if you were to look at the minimap. Unfortunately, if we look at my ally ships remaining, yeah, most of the ships over there in the west actually did die. It wasn't so great, but saving grace and all of that is that there are still a few remaining, right? And the few that are remaining are taking up defensive positions for our base, because you'll notice that the enemy ships are pushing to the north, right? Now that they sort of broken through over there on the west side, they're pushing to the north, and they're obviously going to try and make a play at our base. Excellent. So I do decide to move into these little islands where the sea would normally be. A number of reasons. I mean, we took out the Tirpitz. I do have a destroyer in here as well I wanted to help support. And then, you know, this Miyoko pops up. So, okay, we're just going to take this guy down as quick as we possibly can. Obviously, we need to watch out for torpedoes. So that was the biggest thing that I was keeping in mind right now. Armor piercing is loaded, so I fire a shot into him. Did a good bit of damage there. Once I reload, I should be able to take this guy out. But again, we got to watch torpedoes, right? I didn't fire off my torpedoes because you're on such low health. I just wanted to take him out. But he has obviously fired his, right? So there we go. There we've got the two spreads coming in. So I'm going to easily be able to dodge the first spread. The narrow spread, there we go. Dodged it, not a big deal. But the second spread, he did a wide. Or sorry, the second torpedoes, he did a wide spread on that, right? So I did actually end up taking one torpedo. Did a bit of damage to me, but I'm able to repair it, so that's not too bad. We've got the Cleveland back again. Here he is here. So we're going to start putting shots into him. Maybe that's a different Cleveland. I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, putting shots into a Cleveland, right? You can see there is the other Cleveland. Okay, so that's where I was getting the other Cleveland from. So this guy, he's driving more or less in a straight line, right? If I could just manage to aim properly, I'm going to do a bunch of damage to this Cleveland. Citadels will just, you know, they're just going to happen. It's just natural. So putting shots, that's a full salvo into that Cleveland there. Hopefully we'll get some Citadels with that salvo there. And in fact we do. Fantastic. 11,000 damage in the Citadel. That wasn't too bad at all. And maybe even taught the Cleveland, you know, maybe not expose your broadsides like that. There's the Nagato. We'll need to zoom back in because it almost looked like an Amagi to me. But anyway, there is an enemy battleship, right? So we got to keep this guy in mind. I cannot turn. I just can't turn and allow him to get a broadside on me, right? He will just wipe me out. It's an Amagi, so a tier 8 battleship. Lots of big cannons on that thing. Yeah, Admiral Hipper wouldn't stand a chance. So we're going to get ourselves out of this situation here. We're going to actually move back around, potentially to the east side. We're going to see what's going on over there. You'll notice, yeah, some of my ally ships are still alive. There's a destroyer, there's a cruiser, there's a battleship in the background. The enemies still do have the Nagato back there as well, and now we've got this Amagi to deal with as well. So that looks kind of tough. Don't know how well we'll be able to manage and deal with that. Luckily, though, we did take out all of the enemy destroyers, right? There were only 2, but they're both gone now, so that's fairly great. In terms of the enemy ships remaining, they do only have 5 ships remaining, so that is not too bad at all. And we have the advantage right now, right? You can see us in the point advantage, so we're not doing too shabby. Something you do want to keep in mind, though, when you have a point advantage like this, right? We're in this situation where it's basically the middle of the battle. We're winning by points. We have more ships than the enemies. But, you know, don't let that go to your head. Because what can easily happen is this Amagi, the Nagato, maybe some of the enemy cruisers, you know, they can quickly start taking down some of my ally ships who might not be at full health, right? And take those guys down and close the lead in points. And in fact, we just lost an allied ship, and the enemies did exactly that, right? They're still trailing, but they only have to kill a few more of us, and they're actually going to be at parity with us. So you need to keep this in mind when you're at this point in the battle. If you manage to survive up to this point, congratulations. Now you have to survive until the end, right? Because the longer and longer you survive in battle, especially a battle like this where there's no like points like A, B, and C to cap, we just have our bases basically. It is so important the longer that you survive, or the longer you stay in the battle, that you actually survive. Because in these type of matches, it's the points that really count. I mean, usually maybe your base will get capped out, right? That happens often enough. But if it's going to come down to both sides defending their base, yeah, we're going to be looking at points here. There is an enemy up in our base, capping our base. Now, I was a little concerned about this, but we do have some allies up there, right? I've got an aircraft carrier up there. We've got one of the destroyers up there, and I believe a cruiser as well. There's a few ships up there, so we don't necessarily have to worry about it. In the meantime, I did take out the Cleveland. You saw me take out that Cleveland, so that wasn't too bad at all. I'm going to use this island here as cover, because you notice beyond the island are some battleships. There's an Amagi, right? He's pushing up. There's still the Nagato, and we can see their aircraft carrier way off in the distance. Excuse me. Now, I am super concerned about the Amagi here. I do not want to have to deal with this guy. He will just destroy me, right? Especially if I just charge out beyond this island, give him a nice broadside, he puts shots into me, it's all over. So that's what I don't want to have happen. Now, obviously, I do need to come out beyond this island, right? I need to get shots into the Amagi to help my allies. I can't just stick around and watch them die, right? So I am trying to get myself into a position where I can actually be of use without dying. I don't want to die. So you can see the Turbits there, right? He is on, half health, facing off against the Amagi and the Nagato. And I'm going to turn myself around. I'm actually going to try to attack these guys from the rear, right? Notice that I have an allied destroyer in the enemy base there, right? I'm actually going to try and turn around and help that guy out. Now, at this point in time as well, the enemies only have 2 ships remaining. Like, we took out the enemy ships that were up there, putting pressure on our base, as I said we would. It's fairly easy for my allies up there to do that. And they only have the Amagi, the Nagato, and the Independence as their aircraft carrier. So they only have these 3 ships remaining. So this is an excellent opportunity for us to surround the enemies, right? Split their fire. Hopefully, the maneuver I'm doing right now will let me get in and behind these enemy battleships, put shots into them without taking any shots myself. My hope is that these enemy battleships will be focused on my allied Tirpitz. That is my hope. Doesn't actually come to fruition though, because you'll notice that my Tirpitz is dead. Yeah, so they managed to take him out, so that's not too great. Our battleships, though, are pushing down through the center to get themselves into position to start helping us out here. And in fact, I do think that they are in range to start engaging these enemy battleships, so that is great. Here is where I thought it would all go wrong. I had to turn, I had to give the broadside to the Imagi here, because you can see the islands in and around me, but he wasn't focused on me, right? This player had fired off his full salvo at some enemy or some ally battleships in the background, and I got lucky here. And this is something as well, a little trick if you don't do it, you know, try and get in the habit of doing it, is when you're sizing up an enemy, especially an enemy battleship, as to whether or not you should be engaging and whether or not the broadside is going to be, you know, your downfall and all of this, take a look at the enemy turrets, right? Take a look at the turrets. Are they pointed at you? Are they turning towards you? If they are, then you want to turn and get out of there, present a small target as possible. If the turrets aren't looking at you and they're not turning towards you, the enemy is clearly involved with some other ship. Take your shot and run. That's basically what you need to do when you find yourself in these situations, right? And it generally does work. The battleships, right, they've got a lot going on, especially right now at this point in time. You can see we've got my aircraft carrier in here doing stuff. We had my destroyer in there that the Imagi had to dodge torpedoes. So he's got a lot going on, and he might not necessarily even know that I'm here. So take advantage of this, right? Shots are incoming. They are incoming for me, right? There we go. Took a bit of damage in that one. Not too pleased with myself, but you know, there wasn't a whole lot I could do, and he was on fire, so I couldn't even see if he was pointed at me or not. Anyway, the Imagi is almost dead. We can see that the Nagato is coming into play now. If the Nagato would have came and maybe stood with his Imagi, things might have been a little different, or maybe they might have drug it out a little longer for us here, but not the case. We were able to basically take on the Imagi all on its own, and then basically there we go. I mean, you can see the Imagi is almost dead. There he goes. He just burned to death. Now it is the Nagato remaining, right? So not too bad. Now the enemies have managed to take out some of our ships, right? We only really have well, 4 ships remaining. One of them is an aircraft carrier, right? So we need the aircraft carrier to start dishing out a lot of damage here, or I need the destroyer to come in here and do something about this Nagato. It's not that I can't take on a Nagato, it's just it's risky. Really risky at this point in time. What's that? 2 minutes and 37 seconds left on the clock? You know, it's really risky at this time. If the Nagato wants, he can kill me, and then, you know, again, bring up his points, take down our points, and, you know, things might go a little differently here. And I'm on really low health, so I need to keep this all in mind, and I need to pay attention here, right? I'm not going to do anyone any good at the bottom of the ocean. It just, no. So, putting shots into the Nagato here. The Nagato's on fire. We've been able to set this guy on fire and keep him burning for quite some time. He's down to about half health now. 2 minutes remaining on the clock. So things are going pretty well for us right now. If we can just hold on, if no one can die, we're going to get this. We should get the victory here. This isn't going to be a cap out, right, where I'm not going to be able to get in there and cap that base in time. Plus, it's just too close to the Nagato. He will destroy me. So this is going to be running down the clock, right? That's what we're going to try and do. Nagato took out another one of my allies, right? It's just me and the aircraft carrier remaining versus the Nagato and his aircraft carrier. So this is what I was talking about when I say, you know, you got to be careful at this stage of the battle, right? The enemies can really work you over, kill you quick, and take the victory. I get really lucky in that I was able to dodge those that salvo incoming from the Nagato. I'm not going to fool around though. I'm going to turn my ship, present as small a target as possible. You know, one good solid hit from this Nagato and I am done. My aircraft carrier is on point. You can see it there. He just got a nice torpedo strike in on the Nagato, which is fantastic. The Nagato's on really low health. So if I can just keep putting shots into him here, maybe get him burnt down some more, I might actually even be able to get myself another kill. That would be fantastic. In the meantime, the enemy aircraft carrier is obviously launching all planes that he or she has at me, right, trying to get me down, because I'm on the lowest health here. Just makes sense to do. Luckily I'm able to avoid that dive bombing run, so that was pretty great. Putting more shots into the Nagato. If only I would have set him on fire, I think I would have actually been able to kill him. There's only about 15 seconds remaining on the clock here, so we're gonna take this victory, right? Unless I do something really stupid with this incoming salvo here, we should take the victory. There we go. I managed to dodge it and survive the hit he got on me. Battle is over and we win. Fantastic. I know I mentioned at the beginning of the video, but I love this Admiral Hipper. It is a great cruiser. So 2 kills, 257,000 credits, 5,200 experience is not too bad at all. I got a Citadel as well. That was on the Cleveland, so that's decent. Number of fires, shot down some planes, and you can see all the missions there that, you know, progression towards. Second overall in the team, not too shabby at all. Look at the damage numbers though. This is 122,000 damage in the Admiral Hipper. Not too shabby at all if you ask me. Over 200,000 credits is what I walk away with, which is great because at this point in time I was still saving for the rune. Yes, you'll see it's not actually in my port as of yet. Anyway, that is today's video. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. Maybe even reconsidered Admiral Hipper. If you hadn't looked at it or if you haven't considered it an option, I would definitely do it. Leave any comments you have for me in the video comment section below. Love reading those and responding back to them. Hit the old like button if you did like today's video. And as always, I do hope you enjoy the rest of your day.